Morning, Pip. Thanks for joining. Do you
Hi,
want to just
Dan.
take a minute and give everyone a little bit of an intro into who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. I'm Pip. I'm the founder of the Circle Line. I'm a psychotherapist now, but I used to be a lawyer. I was a litigator in the city to begin with. I worked in brand and comms as well for 10 years. And now I'm having retrained as a psychotherapist. I combine that corporate experience, leadership experience with working with individuals and teams in a workplace setting, particularly focus on law firms and founders, given that's my background, so it's directly relevant.
Great, thank you. And I know from our earlier conversation that your advice actually may be a question rather than some advice, but it was a question that was quite empowering. So I'm curious.
My best bit of advice ever was a question, not a piece of advice. And I didn't know this at the time because this was years ago, a good 20 years ago that this happened to me, that someone said this question to me. But I now realize it was a core part of actually therapy and the work I do now and why it was so transformational. So I was in a really bad situation. It's a long time ago, and I was really stuck. Very unhappy situation. And I was feeling quite desperate. And I was telling somebody about it, um, having a very intense conversation about what to do, whether to stay in this situation, whether to leave. And the person said to me, "Hold on," she said, "if you could give yourself a present right now, what would it be?" And very instinctively, I replied, "The courage of my convictions." And within 3 weeks of that conversation, I got myself out of the bad situation for good, done, and was on the path to happiness eventually. Um, but it was in asking that question, what would you give yourself now? What present would you give yourself right now? That it made me realize, what do I need? And I needed courage, and I needed to believe in myself, go with my convictions, and do what I needed to do. Had she said to me, "Just be brave, Pip," I don't think it would have had nearly the impact as a piece of advice than asking me the question. So effectively, I advised myself and found my own answer, changed the
That's
course of my
amazing.
life. Yeah, I got out of the
Amazing.
situation within 3 weeks, never looked back. It was done.
And has it been something that you've managed to apply again and again, or was it that one defining moment?
At that point, it was that one defining moment. I didn't really realize why that was so effective or what that conversation had done to me. Um, I just carried on with my life. But then good 15 years later in my training in psychotherapy, I realized, it was a very powerful question. And that's part of working with people, working with teams, is asking questions for them to find their own answers. Because anyone can give a piece of advice to anybody. It may or may not be the right piece of advice. There's no right or wrong. It's for that person to find their answer. So I learned that the powerful question is sometimes a lot more powerful than advice itself.
That's great. Thank you for that. So, if people wanted to get in contact with you or the Circle Line, what kind of contact would you welcome and how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, we've got a website, thecircleline.co.uk. That's a good starting point. Or find me on LinkedIn. As I said, we work with individuals and teams, which ladders up to culture. So if you're wanting to improve your culture, your leadership style, your team dynamics, or individual performance, we'd be really happy to have a chat.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Cheers.